Hello and welcome to the Collecting Heroes podcast. I'm your host JD, the collector of collectors, and this is the podcast where I interview pop culture collectors from around the world. Today, dear listener, I have one question for you. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Because I think my next guest has. Her name is Megan. She is from Indiana and she is a Joker collector. Megan, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me.
I figured that was probably the perfect intro for you because you did mention earlier that you love the Jack Nicholson Joker as one of your favorite Jokers.
Yes, that made me smile.
And actually, we've been talking. This is probably one of the things I always have a little bit of a conversation and I get to know you with people. But we've been talking for close to an hour already. Before we even started recording this episode, we could have literally had a second episode already done. But just been geeking out too much. But we have to record the episode. We have to finally get in, let other people hear this conversation and geek out. So, yeah, thank you very much for being on the show. As always, with this, one of the first things I always ask of people is, how did you become a Joker fan? Because luckily we haven't discussed that yet, so I don't have to make you repeat yourself. But yeah, what was it that got you into being a Joker fan?
So in my middle school, we had this superhero theme within our grade. And I was given this page, this coloring page of the Joker. And I was like, I don't know who this is. I don't know how to color this. So I was given this one of those fact books, one of those DC encyclopedias, and she flips to this page of the Joker. So, and I'm just engrossed. I'm reading all this information, height, weight, history, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Nice.
I didn't even know this was a thing. This is my first introduction to comics or anything, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And it just kind of, I just started doing research, and then I checked out the Killing Joke, because the internet was Killing Joke. So I did that, and I think I renewed it for a couple of months because I just loved it. And Brian Boland is still my favorite artist, and The Killing Joke is still my favorite book to this day. So that's kind of how I got into it. Yeah.
Wow. It's great. I've got multiple things to talk about with all the different versions of Joker, but it's cool to know that the Killing Joke is something that means a lot to you as well. Because
Yes,
I was actually one of the questions, I'll get it out of the way early. One of the questions, or one of the things I was going to say, was talking about the different versions of the Joker, because this is a character that is as, or I want to say almost as famous as the hero in Batman. People
definitely.
know the Joker. The Joker has been played by multiple people and drawn by multiple artists and represented in different ways. And yeah, it's just become this massive character that people connect with. But also, it's quite a twisted character, and there's a few very twisted versions and dark and grim versions, like nightmare fuel almost, of the Joker. And you've got the Killing Joke, you've got Death of the Family comes to mind, obviously, with the one that takes his, he's got his face removed. Yeah. He's literally wearing his own skin mask face. And the Batman Who Laughs. When I talk about nightmare fuel, that definitely is an image that definitely is up there. What would you say is the freakiest version of the Joker for you? Which is the one that creeps you out the most?
So there are actually two. The Arkham Asylum, Serious Health, Serious Earth. That's a pretty scary looking Joker. In the art, that's pretty scary. In another one, the Joker, the 2008 novel, Liebermejo, I think, does the art for that. His Joker is pretty scary. And honestly, I was kind of like, oh, this is scary, and I just kind of learned to love it. I love it so much now. I recently just bought the variant he did for the new Joker series, but it used to freak me out. I was like, oof, that's kind of pretty terrifying looking. Yeah. So those two probably. Yeah.
And I'm also trying to imagine a middle school child reading The Killing Joke as well.
Well, turn on the news. It's about the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Actually, little side story for the listeners is that a lot of our conversation at the start, we were talking about a lot of world events and a lot of non-Joker related things as well. So that completely ties into our earlier conversation.
Yep.
Um, with your collection, so you started reading. You obviously got the comics. When did you start sort of collecting items? When did you were you anytime you saw something in the store have to pick it up,
Um,
or were you gifted things once people knew you were a Joker fan?
well, I mean, I didn't start collecting till like quite a bit after. Like, I got the Killing Joke from the library, so it wasn't mine. And then I started getting books and comics from half price books because they just cost a lot less.
Yeah, of course.
So I would, yeah, some of my first items, I don't even think about those being my first items, but they probably are. So like the Dark Knight, Batman 89, Batman 66. But like the first collectible item was probably this well actually there's two kind of. The first one I personally bought was Suicide Squad Funko Pop. And I actually had not seen Suicide Squad. I just really
Yeah,
liked the Joker and I was a Joker pop and I was like, well, I'm gonna get it because I like Joker.
yeah, yeah.
And that was out at the time whenever I was becoming a Joker fan. So Jared Leto's Joker was like pretty much everywhere. So I got that pop, and I'm pretty sure it was the one with him in the black tuxedo. And then the actual first item is this is just a crazy story. So in second grade, I got a Joker Imagine X figure for my birthday, and I didn't know who the Joker was. Obviously, I found out in
Yeah,
middle school. So
yeah, yeah.
it was like fate or something, and I got this little figure of the Joker, and I've kept it all these years. I don't know why, and I still have him. He's still on my shelf, and so I have this little Joker figure from like second grade that this kid gifted me, and at the time I was like, "This is so weird. Like, what is this?" But
And
now
so,
I love
so
it.
you had that in your collection the whole time, or you had that in your toy collection at the whole time,
Yeah, yeah,
and
it's so
and not
weird.
even realizing, and then you saw this character and didn't know who he was, but you'd already been playing with him.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like the universe works in strange ways.
It does for sure. And when now that you like sort of count yourself as a collector, as you definitely are, like you have a quite impressive collection of people listening. Just looking in the background behind Megan, there's shelves upon shelves of different Joker things. And I was actually watching, as I mentioned to you earlier, I was watching your YouTube tour as well, that you do the room tour. How do you find these items now? Like, what is your main source for these? Because you've got so many items. How do you sort of keep track of that, and how do you look for them?
I mean, I don't keep track of it as well as I used to. I have recently rebought a few things, which I'm kind of embarrassed about, but it happens. But I buy things pretty much from everywhere. There's actually only one really small comic shop where I live, so eBay and online stores is definitely a lot of what I do. I get a lot of my really obscure items, which is something I love to collect, um, from eBay and just Target, Walmart, just all the normal, regular, common places. But yeah, I'd say definitely online is where I get a lot of my stuff. Yeah.
Cool, cool. So obviously, with the things that you were mentioning that you've doubled up on a couple of times, what are the things that you tend to find that you get home and you go, "Oh, damn, I've already got this." Is there certain items, like is it comic books? Is it figures? Like which ones?
It's comic books. Like for the Death of the Family, there were six different covers with the Joker's like face,
Yep.
and you flip it open and there's like a member of the Bat family. And I was like, I'm sure I don't have this one. And it was like I bought it again. So which is kind of understandable because like they all look very similar. So I don't feel as bad about that one. But there are a few comics I have rebought, which is okay. I'm not too upset about it.
And do you have a rough idea that my last collector that I just had on was a Deadpool collector, and he actually counts up his collection. He was at 560 plus items. Do you have an inkling of what you're at total wise at the moment?
Oh, I wish I kept track, and make it a lot easier, but 1,200. But my family says there's way more. Because I just I collect like ads from comic books. So
Yeah.
like each one of those ads is like an item, and it just sometimes I forget like how much there actually is like between shirts and posters and comic books. There's just so much that's not up that I just completely don't even remember. But this summer I really want to catalog my entire collection and get a real like head count of the collection.
It's funny you mentioned shirts because me being a Batman fan, I have a metric ton of shirts and pop culture shirts, but especially Batman ones. And yeah,
Yep,
people are
same.
quite surprised when I mentioned that I could literally wear a different Batman shirt for every day of the month. Like,
Same here.
yeah, and just so many t-shirts. Do you have a favorite clothing item in your collection as well that you break out from time to time, or that you try not to wear because it's so coveted?
Yes, I recently was gifted this Jack Nicholson Joker T-shirt. Um, an artist named Zachary Jackson Brown did the art, um, and I love Jack Nicholson's Joker. I love this artist. I bought so many of his items, so I love that one. And it has like neon pink, and my hair is neon pink right now. So
Yeah,
it just looks so good together, and I just wear it all the time. Like the Batman day to theaters, I wore that shirt, and a lot of people liked it because it's such a cool shirt. And I try not to wear that one all the time, but yeah,
I
I
actually
fail.
I actually have a shirt, and it's actually. I'm just gonna go grab it for a second. Hang on a second. So people are listening and they can't really see this, but I'm going to describe it. I actually went to a double feature. We were talking about this before. We both went to the Tim Burton double feature for Batman Day at the cinema, which was quite a coincidence considering we're on opposite sides of the world. But I also wore this shirt.
Oh my goodness, that's very cool. I might have to buy that.
So this is actually from a place called, I'm pretty sure it's Tea Fury. I want to say it's Tea Fury. It's like one of those shirt like they do a single design every day, and they have like special artists that come in. So the shirt, describe it for people that are listening. It actually says "Greetings from Gotham City" on it, and then at the bottom it says, "If you've got to go, go with a smile," which is a great quote from Jack Nicholson's Joker when he's gassing everyone at the celebration. So,
Yep.
um, but it's actually done in the style of like a postcard, and it even came when I got the shirt. It actually comes with postcards as well.
Oh,
So
that's
I've actually got
awesome.
postcards on display on the shelf as well. But it's a really cool shirt with Jack Nicholson's Joker on it, and I had to wear that because that's probably one of my favorite shirts that I've got at the moment. I've got quite a
Of
number
course.
of Joker shirts. When I talk about having Batman shirts, I include my Joker shirts in that, and I have multiple Joker shirts. A few of them actually, it's funny. I tend to really go for some of the artist inspired ones, the ones that are like mashups as well. So there's a perfect one that I got off another site which actually says Mad Men on it, but it's actually, if you know the show Mad Men, the advertising
Um,
show. So it's actually based on that, but it's Joker. So it's like the image of John Draper. It's usually sitting there. It's him sitting with a gun in his hand. So it's the silhouette of the Mad Men logo, but they've changed it to be Joker. And then another one that I have, which is a mashup with the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Hunter S. Thompson book, which also was a movie where Johnny Depp portrayed him, and it's actually got Joker as that character. And it says, "We can't stop here. This is Bat Country," which is a famous line from the start of that movie as well, and the start of that book. So yeah, it's something that I have quite a number of these shirts, and it's cool to actually see another collector that has the same sort of thing. You were mentioning
yeah.
you do swimming and track meets and things like that, and you have certain
Yes.
style of clothings that you like to wear. Tell people about that.
So, well, obviously with swimming, I can't really wear like Joker stuff. They don't really make Joker swimsuits. I have looked. I do have a Joker and Batman kickboard that I take to practice. I love it. I'm so proud of it. I break it out anytime I can. But with track and field, there I wasn't a part of a team. Actually, I kind of just went to meets on my own. So I actually got to wear Batman shirts. So I was kind of just team Batman. So lots of photos of me doing javelin. I don't actually run, but I throw the javelin. I'm wearing a Batman tank top. So yeah.
Do you have any nicknames within your swimming groups or your track friends? Do they give you like certain nicknames because of the Batman shirt and because of your fandom?
No, but people recognize me. Like I'm very recognizable with the colored hair and the Batman combo, like and very hard to miss. So when people see the Batman shirt, it's like, oh, it's that person. Like they might not remember my name, but
Yeah,
they that it's that person with the Batman shirt. And I actually went to this meet many states away, this championship meet, and someone's like, I saw you at another meet just because of how I dress,
yeah.
the Batman shirt, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Like I didn't know this person, and I don't think he knew my name, but it was just like that's kind of freaky. Yeah,
It's cool. It's cool, and obviously very colorful hair, as you mentioned with the pink hair. I think I'm
yeah,
fairly certain on your room tour video you have bright green hair on that. So
yes.
how often does the hair color change?
It really depends on what I'm doing. With the Joker, the green hair, I did it. There's like this photo of Jared Leto, Joker behind the scenes, and his hair is like neon green. Because honestly, in different scenes, his hair looks different colors. Like it can look darker, it can look brighter. But I did it based off the neon green hair, and I actually have this photo I posted like a long time ago, like side by side, and our hair is like identical. So I did the neon green for Joker, obviously. I've done a few different greens and I've done purple, but honestly, just whenever I have the time. It grows out pretty quickly with the short hair. With swimming, I do have to re-dye it because like the dye will come out with the pool water. So
My
yeah.
girlfriend has well, she's been growing her hair out, but for many years she has had hair that's probably not much longer than yours, and she went through many colorful phases as well.
Yeah, it's much easier when you have shorter hair because you can like grow it all out instead of
Mhm.
just throwing bleach on top of bleach. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the Jared Leto Joker, you mentioned that that was one of the first items that you got. Um,
Yep.
do you have like so we've had so many different Jokers over the years, like from like I already mentioned, and then we look at people that have played him in
Mhm.
cinemas. I'm just going to rattle off some names: Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix. If you had to rank those four, because those are the four I think the most well known ones for the general audience. If you had to rank those in order of which ones you liked, which ones would you go with? How would you go?
This is a really hard question. Because if I had just watched like The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger would probably be my favorite because I'd be like, that'd be at the top of my mind.
Yep.
But Jack Nicholson, of course, is first. I really liked the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I actually was a little suspicious. He didn't look like classic Joker, and I'm definitely a big fan of classic Joker.
Mhm.
Jack Nicholson being my favorite, but it was just a stunning performance, and I went to see it so many times in theaters. So I'd say him second, Heath Ledger third, which I know will upset a lot of people. And he was my favorite for a long time. And then Jared. I do like Jared. A lot of people don't. I like
Yeah.
him in Suicide Squad and the Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think he did a great job. I wish we got the air cut because I feel like we missed a lot of his performance. Yeah.
I would have to say if I had to order them myself, I would more likely go Heath, Jack, maybe Jared, and then Joaquin. But I could those last two I could switch any
Yeah.
different day, like you said, if I'm watching or like watching a different movie or watching a different series at the time, because of the fact that I think they're sort of on par because their Jokers are so different. But I think it's also a lot of the flack that he got, Jared Leto, for his Joker portrayal. I felt. exactly what happened with Heath Ledger when he was coming in. And I was definitely guilty of this. Before The Dark Knight came out, I remember people were saying, Heath Ledger's going to be the Joker. I'm like, you talking about the 10 things I hate about you, guy? Are you serious? Like, I'm an Australian, and like, I'm so happy to have an Australian play a role in a Batman movie. But
Definitely.
I mean, Jack was so iconic. Like, how is he going to up that? And then he did. He was absolutely amazing. I was like, front row at IMAX watching that in 2008 when it came out, and I think I was like jaw on the floor watching his performance. I just loved that movie so much, and his performance was just stand out. So,
Yeah.
I would still, even though I love and have a massive place in my heart for the Tim Burton movies and Jack Nicholson, I think I put Heath just ahead of him. But Jared Leto having to then follow Heath after that iconic performance, and after he sadly passed away, and there's such this reverence for him from the fan and the community. Um, it was always going to be hard. It didn't matter what he did. He was always. I think there was always going to be a subsect of the fandom that was going to
Yeah.
say, "No, you just can't touch what Heath did," and in a way, you can't. But I think he did a pretty decent job. I think he did a pretty decent job.
I mean, like, everyone compares, like, any other Joker that comes after Heath is going to be compared to Heath, and you see this a lot, and I just feel like people should not compare him because just like Heath did a completely different thing from what we see in the comics, so did Jared,
Mm-hmm.
and so did Joaquin, and even the
Mm-hmm.
most recent Joker, Barry,
Yep.
in Batman, just went in such a different direction that we've never seen before.
Yep.
And I think we should respect that. And I respect all Jokers, and I enjoy all the different performances. When you're not comparing them, it's a lot easier to enjoy them all, you
That's
know?
true. That's very true.
So
I didn't mention Barry because it was such a small portion of that Batman movie. I didn't sort of want to put him in there because he only had a tiny performance. And I will call him Barry as well because I just can never get his surname right. No disrespect. Like, right. So back to your collection though. I mean, we could sit here and we could talk for hours about the different people that
yep.
played the Joker. Uh, we may even go back to Mark Hamill because I think we can't have a Joker episode without mentioning Mark Hamill. But going back to your collection, is there a certain item in your collection that stands out to you that anytime you see this type of item in store that you have to get it, like a food item, a figure, or what would that be?
So I'd say it's not necessarily an item, but Jack Nicholson Joker, you don't see stuff as much for his Joker,
Mm-hmm.
even less than Caesar Romero. I feel like you see him the least amount out of the live action Jokers or the movie Jokers at least.
Mm-hmm.
So if whenever I see him on something, it's definitely a must get. I also love really obscure things. So like if I see him on a food product, definite buy. I don't care if I don't eat the thing. Someone in my family will eat it, and I'll keep the container. I actually have like an ice cream container
I
behind me.
I literally have that listed here of things that, like, if I have a list of things that I could bring up, and one of the things I had was mint choc ice cream because I did see those.
Yeah, they had like a collectible comic on the back, and you had to like collect four.
Oh,
So I got the four. I had to get the four, and I was like, my dad was running to the grocery store to try to find that fourth one. And that was just, yeah. So only one is on display. I don't have enough space to display like four ice cream containers. But
did you eat
yeah,
the
I
ice
have
cream? Was that? Did you eat that, or did you have a family member eat that?
at the time I ate ice cream, so I did eat it, but I don't eat ice cream anymore.
Was it good?
It was actually very good, yes. There was like a Batman ice cream and Harley Quinn and Wonder Woman, and I tried like the Batman. That was really good. And I have that container somewhere, but the Joker one was the best because
Yeah.
Joker's the best. Yeah.
Any other obscure item that stands out in your collection as well?
Yeah, there's definitely a few. Behind me I have this like baby onesie. And the story behind that, it was like $1 in a clearance section, and I couldn't just walk away. I had to grab it. I swear, any higher price, and I would have gotten it, but it was
Yeah.
$1. And it was like a whole box of them, and I was like, I'm getting one. So I have the baby onesie, and it just makes me really happy to see it. And another thing, kind of obscure thing, it's a little bit of a story, but there's this DC game called Infinite Crisis,
Yep.
and there's kind of like this nuclear explosion or whatnot, and all the characters are like they look different. And Atomic Joker, he like he loses his head and he puts in a jar and he's like on a henchman's back. And he's voiced by Nolan North. So I met Nolan North to get this very obscure version of the Joker signed. And when I met him, he was like, no one's ever had me sign an Atomic Joker piece before. Like, no one's ever brought an Atomic Joker thing. And he did the
Wow.
voice. He did the Atomic Joker voice, which is very exciting. That was a very happy moment. So as of then, am the only owner of an Atomic Joker signed piece. Now, someone could have gotten it before or after, but I don't know. So that's one of those fun pieces. Yeah.
I'm going to go into spoilers for the Injustice Gods Among Us comic series. Were you terribly sad to read that first one? Have you read that?
Yes. It's kind of he deserves it. I feel bad saying that. I mean, not really. I mean, he deserves it. It's an interesting game. I mean, it's sad that he does get killed so early because he's not in the game. I mean, I know
Hmm.
he's in Injustice too, like as like a fear hallucination from Harley,
Yeah.
but he had a really good role while it lasted.
Yeah. It well, I mean, as far as taking the story forward, and it was one of those oh crap sort of moments as well. I
Yeah.
remember, seeing that. It's one of my favorite comic runs actually in Justice, because of just how great that story is. And when I talk about the spoilers, for people who aren't aware, Joker does get killed by Superman because he actually killed Lois Lane. And then Superman goes nuts, and there's this whole faction that splits between the two different groups of superheroes where Superman has gone rogue. He decides he's going to put a dictatorship where he's going to rule over Earth because man can't be trusted. And then Batman and others obviously are a resistance against him. But Joker gets essentially a hand through the chest. Like,
Yeah. It's
um,
just funny to think that the entire events of Injustice and Injustice 2 are Joker's fault. Like
mhm.
everything that happens, it's not necessarily Superman's fault.
Yep.
It's the Joker's fault. Like
Yep.
everything that happened, like this man is a menace. He caused all of this to happen. And every time like I'm watching him like, Joker, you did this. This is all your fault.
And that's the funny thing about Joker is that there's been so. We were talking about this again. Like I said, we had nearly an hour long conversation before we started recording, and we were talking about Joker. Being his whole thing is anarchy, right? That's as a character, like he's, and I think Heath Ledger says it best as well. I'm like a dog chasing a car. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I caught it. Like he just
Yeah.
does. He just does stuff and he doesn't always have a lot of motivation. Is there something that you think is the most messed up thing that Joker has done in a comic that you've read?
Oh, this is a pretty pretty tough question. Um, well, recently for New York Comic Con, this Emperor Joker Funko Pop just
Yeah,
came out.
yeah.
So that's the top of my mind. That might be the most messed up thing because it was just such on a large scale. He ruined the like entire Earth or universe. Um, yeah, so that's probably like the biggest worst thing. I mean, obviously he's done a lot of very like Killing Joke and the death in the family and death of the family. There's just so
Hmm.
many things you could go back to, but probably Emperor Joker is the worst thing he's done. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely glossed over the death in the family when he literally beats Robin to death. I remember telling someone about this, and I was saying about the comics and how dark the comics can be because I think some people were talking about how dark the movies have been in some cases. I'm like, have you read some of the comic series? Like, these are not always made for like these are not for your 10-year-old to read. Especially
Definitely.
when Robin's getting his head beat in with a crowbar. Like this is not. Yeah, the Joker is not a good guy. Is not a good guy.
No, I mean, when Titans, the TV show Titans, reenacted the Jason Todd and Joker, and they posted this behind the scenes photo of what Robin looked like after the Joker had beat him with a crowbar, and it
Oh,
was pretty gnarly. It was a
oh.
little too realistic.
They obviously didn't end up putting that on camera. Like,
No, it was dark whenever the Joker, like, it didn't show it in detail. It was just
okay.
kind of like the Joker silhouette with the crowbar and Robin on the ground. It wasn't like showing like the blood and all that, but they posted that behind the scenes photo, and I was like, whoa.
I need to go back and watch that because I'm only up to season 2 in Titans at the moment.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Joker obviously he shows up in season 1, and then he shows up again in season 3. So I definitely get to season 3 at least.
So you've got a lot of Funko Pops in your collection. Is there any other figurines that you like to collect as well? Obviously, because Funko just brings out one of everything, and it's like you can joke about how many Funko Pops there are and the different colored versions and everything.
Yeah.
But is there another either statue or figure collection company that you're a fan of whenever they bring something out?
Yeah, I've been a real fan of the McFarlane toys, especially the 66 figures. I actually have like 3 McFarlane toys things on pre-order. I have like the black and white Cesar Romero, and then the New York Comic Con exclusive, and then I have like the Villains Lair from the 66 movie. And I have all of the 66 stuff that Todd McFarlane has put out, and I just love it so much.
Nice.
They all have like 3 Cesar Romero Joker. They've got like the swimming shorts from like the Surf's Up Joker's Under. And then they've just got the classic, and they've got like him with like the domino mask from the movie, the pink domino mask. So yeah, some great stuff.
Is there, it always actually, I've always found it amusing as an adult. I never really noticed it as a child, but the fact that he painted over his mustache and that was a thing he refused to actually shave off his mustache. It was Cesar Romero because of the fact that that was he felt was a part of his character and who he was as a person. So he refused to shave that off, and they had to paint over his mustache. And I never really noticed that when I was watching the show growing up, because that was one of my first exposures to Batman was watching the 66. And obviously I'm not that old, but like I'm old enough that I was watching that after school. And I used to get home and watch that show. Do you have any other funny Joker stories from different actors, where they had a certain request?
Um, I don't know. I mean, whenever you're talking about Jack Nicholson and some of the Joker actors, it just reminded me of this interview with Mark Hamill, and he's like, I completely forgot Jack Nicholson was a Joker. So whenever I was doing the Joker, he's like, oh crap, Jack Nicholson, like I have to go after Jack Nicholson. Um, so I thought that was really funny. I think a lot of people have respect for Jack's Joker, and I think it's more Heath now, just like the modern actors. But whenever Mark was doing the Joker in '92, it was Cesar Romero, and it was Jack Nicholson. So,
Yeah.
and he was like, someone reminded him, I guess, like Jack Nicholson did the Joker, and he's like, oh crap, Jack Nicholson. I remember that interview. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah.
It's funny because I would say Mark Hamill has become more iconic as the Joker. I think, like in my mind personally, I mentioned him earlier, just because of being the voice of Joker. Obviously,
Definitely.
Jack Nicholson had this perfect moment in time in that movie, but being the voice of Joker that most people hear, and I spoke to this about you with you earlier. When I read the comics, I can't help but hear his voice a lot of the time. when I'm
Definitely,
reading
yeah.
the Joker. And I think, having him in the animated series, having him in Arkham series. I've recently just been playing the DC villains game, and he did
Oh,
the voice again in that, and
yeah. Yeah, he's everywhere.
he's everywhere. Like his voice is everywhere, and it's so iconic hearing his voice as the Joker.
Yeah, I think his last Joker voice was in it was a show called Scooby Doo Guess Who, and they brought in different characters each episode.
Yeah.
And the first episode, it's the Kevin Conroy Batman and the Mark Hamill Joker, and that was in 2019. That's the last time he's done the Joker. I really hope he does it again. Yeah, I mean, I love all the different Joker voice actors. I really think they bring like the right tone for the role. Because I think one that I think of the most when I say that is The Dark Knight Rises. Because I don't know if Mark Hamill's voice would necessarily fit with that.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think yeah, but like what he does, like I almost think of Mark Hamill as the animated version of Jack Nicholson. Because like the Batman animated series
Mm,
was based off the Tim Burton movies. So
that's a good way to put
and
it.
they kind of look the same even too, and they have like the fedora hat and like they look similar to me. So I do like the Batman animated series Joker, of course.
That's a great way to put it. And talking about the different voice actors, because you've mentioned you've met a couple of them. And you tend to go to a lot of, from what I can see, you've been to a lot of different Comic Cons and conventions, and met people. And I did see on your room tour that there's another DC character who you're particularly fond of, and got to meet the actor who played him in a movie.
Yes, being a swimmer, of course, Aquaman is going to be one of my favorites. Just like Aquaman is not taken as seriously as a Justice League member or a character, swimming is not taken as seriously as a sport. So you kind of like relate to him a little bit in that way. I actually recently bought this swimsuit. There's no Joker ones, but I saw this swimsuit. It was like fish scales, but it was like gold. So it looked like Aquaman's outfit, and I had to get it. And I actually do have an Aquaman trident. It's hiding behind a Heath Ledger cardboard cutout. But I do love Aquaman. He's one of my favorites.
And what was the experience like meeting Jason Momoa?
Of course it was really quick because he's so like famous and he had like such a long line, but it was pretty awesome. I definitely have to bring it up when I meet new people because everyone knows who Jason Momoa is. So I'm like, I met him once and I look so different in the photo when I met him, but I was there. I met him and I love that photo. So yeah, that was a good moment. He was one of the first actors I actually met when I started going to Comic Cons.
That's cool. But having a massive Joker collection, you can't have a Joker collection without having another character in there as well. And I'm sure you know who I'm talking about here. But
Yes, Batman, of course. Like I said to you earlier, I have met more Batman actors than Joker actors. For some reason, I've just been able to catch more Batman people. But of course, I love Batman because Batman and Joker, they make each other amazing
yin
characters.
and yang,
So
right?
yeah, and I guess you could have Batman without Joker, but you couldn't necessarily have Joker without Batman.
Hmm.
So Batman's a very important part of the Joker. So I do have quite a few Batman things, but it usually has to be with Joker. I won't typically buy something that's Batman that doesn't have Joker on it.
Yeah, and that's like my collection. You can see in the background, I've got a Jack Nicholson shelf there, which also includes the vinyl of the Prince Batman
Yes.
soundtrack as well. You said that you're a huge Prince fan.
I am. I'm a very big Prince fan, and that actually came from Batman as well. Like I guess I had been introduced to his music before, but it was really Batman that like made me a huge Prince fan, and I have a lot of Prince Batman shirts. So, and yeah, I just have a lot of Prince stuff. Like if I see Prince Batman stuff, it's another one of those automatic buys. Like I bought this print with of him in the Bat Dance outfit and Bat Dance and Party Man outfit. If I see him in that, automatic buy.
Is there a favorite song from that album?
Um, I mean, of course, Bat Dance. It's so if you've never seen the music video, you definitely should. It's just
Yeah,
so wacky.
yeah.
I love it so much. I actually recently watched it on my big screen TV. It's just great. I love it.
I love
Prince, he did a really
the split personality, like almost like where he had half of him dressed like
yeah.
Batman, half of him as the Joker. I loved that.
Yeah, he actually called that character Gemini because that's his star sign. He called that character Gemini, and he has this like
Oh.
gold belt, like, and it says Gemini on it. He actually wrote the Batman album in 2 weeks, which is so impressive because those songs they're all amazing.
Hmm.
And every time I'm watching Tim Burton's Batman, I'm just listening for the Prince song. I'm like, oh, that's Trust, that's Electric Chair, that's Vicky Waiting, and I'm just makes me happy. I love his soundtrack. I definitely when I'm at sports events, the Prince songs definitely hype me up a lot.
I love Scandalous. That was really bad.
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize to everyone. But trying to hit that note, just it's such a like that's an iconic song for me. When I remember
Yes.
listening to that album over and over and over as a kid, and that there's just such emotion, like this like raw
Yes.
sexiness and emotion in that song. And me being a musician as well later in life, when I think about exactly as you said, some an artist that can write an album like that in a mere couple of weeks, it's just shows a level of talent that he has. There's actually a story, you probably heard this, about the Prince vault. It's almost like a Disneyland vault, but of Prince stuff that he'd recorded and videotaped. And there's
Yeah,
like they've
it's
got whole
crazy.
albums maybe worth of extra material that's never been released.
And in 2020, he just put out Welcome to America in 2020, and obviously
He's not
he
around. Yeah,
yeah, so it was like and it was very good. I listened to all the songs, amazing album, and it was just the songs are so relevant to what's going on in the world right now. And he's so incredible. He was so ahead of his times. Like you listen to his songs and he's so ahead of his time, you know? It's incredible. That's why he's probably my favorite artist. So,
nice, nice. And I have to actually go back to something else you said. So Gemini, he called that character Gemini, and I'm fairly certain,
yes.
if I'm remember this correctly, Gemini is the twin. Is that the twins?
I'm not really good with the star signs, but that would make a lot of sense if
I'm
that
fairly
was
certain
true.
Gemini is the twins, which is has a very ironic connection to you then as well.
Yes, I am a twin. So, yeah, my sister loves my collection. My twin sister loves my collection so much. She gushes over it maybe more than I do. I don't know how that's possible, but she's very proud of it, and it definitely makes it a lot easier to collect when your family supports your collecting, and they're also looking for things as well.
I was about to
Yeah.
say, does she pick you up items for the collection as well?
Oh yeah, my Rachel, that's my twin sister's name. She'll get stuff, and she's actually really good at picking out stuff for me with that twin connection, and she just knows what I like. She typically gets me Jack Nicholson stuff.
Yeah.
She's just really good at buying stuff for me. Like I couldn't if I was in a room with all the stuff, I'd probably pick the same thing she picked out for me. She's just really that good at getting Joker stuff.
Does is she a collector herself of anything?
She is, yes. I have two sisters, and they both collect. They have like a lot more diversity in their collections
Yeah.
than I do. My younger sister, she's like, I could never stick to one character. I could never stick to one character like you. So they do like DC Comics, Marvel, anime. My twin is a big fan of the Predator, so just
Oh,
a bunch of different things. And I
what
like a bunch of different things too, but Joker's my main guy.
what did she think of the new Prey movie? Do you know?
Yeah, we watched that all together. That was fantastic. It was a very good
It
film.
was. It was a very good film. I'm curious to see because Hulu's taking all these older properties now and trying to reimagine them. What the new Hellraiser is going to be like, actually, as well. I'm not a huge fan of horror myself. It's something I've gotten into later in life, and I'm testing those waters a bit more. Um, So I'm curious to actually go back and watch the original Hellraiser and then see the new film when it comes out.
Yeah, get Friday the 13th. I love Jason Voorhees. I want a new film of him.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, we've had quite a few of them, but yes, we had
Yeah,
Jason
but
in space, right? Like, was it Halloween
yeah, yeah.
2000 or whatever it was?
Um, what was it called? Jason X.
Jason
Yes.
X. And I think it came out
But make
around
more.
2000 or just early 2000s, I think it was.
Yeah, we see the Michael Myers films just come out. They're coming out like every year pretty much now. I can't keep up with them. But make more Jason movies. I want more modern Jason
Oh,
movies.
yes. So it's Michael Myers that was in the space one, or was it Jason? Am I getting
No, it
that
was
confused?
Jason.
It was
Yeah.
Jason. All right, yeah, I was getting that right. Okay, good. Yeah, it's hard. I'm as I said, I'm only really getting into those things myself. I've the sinister movies. I love those the thriller type. That I love those kind of horrors that really psych
Yeah.
you out. I loved the It films that came out, and we're getting very off track going into the horror. But I mean, look, I mean, Joker is a little bit of a horror character in a way, like as far as some of the comic
Definitely.
as we've discussed. And I'm thinking I might actually have to have a horror collector on the show at one point as well, because that's another thing that was suggested when I asked. And as I mentioned earlier to you, you are on the show because someone actually said, "Can you get this Joker collector on the show?" And so
That's Yeah, that's really awesome to me. So if that person's listening, thank you so much because I love this show and I'm so happy to be here.
and but before we wrap it up, because we have been talking for a while, literally we're going on to about 2 hours of talking together, and I keep saying, and people will be used to me hearing it saying I could talk for hours. We literally have been talking for hours. Before we wrap up, though, you also said that there's another collector who's been on the show already that you found some inspiration for your collection from as well. Do you want to give
Yes,
them a shout out?
yes, Angel Young, of course, the Harley Quinn collector. At the beginning, when I started creating an Instagram account, I saw her account and I'm like, that's really cool. It's dedicated to one character. Maybe I should do something like that. So I would definitely say my account was inspired from her account. And I actually got to meet her this year for the first time. And she was super nice. And that was a very awesome experience meeting her.
She is super nice. She's a very nice person. And Angel, if you're listening, I know I have seen her post in her stories that she tends to listen to this when she's at the gym, I think, or out exercising. So, Angel, if you're listening, hello. And it's a small world, isn't it? This collective
Yes.
community, but I love it. I love it. And with that note, thank you very much for being on the show. I've loved chatting to you. This is fun. We could talk for hours, but I'm going to wrap it up. And I don't know how long this is going to be. It may even be close to an hour long episode. Might be one of the longest ones I've done so far. But thank you, Megan. I've had a great time chatting to you. Before I let you go, I always tell people plug your socials. Where can people find you?
On Instagram, I am the True King of Comedy. On TikTok, I am One Bad Society. And I can't remember what my YouTube is, but you can find the link in my TikTok, in my Instagram. I have the link to all my socials. But yeah, Instagram and TikTok are definitely my main two. I haven't posted on YouTube in a few years, but yeah, Instagram and TikTok.
I think from memory, I think that something along the lines of the jokes on you or something on YouTube.
Jokes on You Collectibles. I
Yeah.
think that's it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, I'll put all the links in the summary so that people can go and check it out. I'll also post a couple of photos of your collection for people on Instagram, but definitely I think they should go and follow your page, and you have an amazing collection. So once again, thank you very much for chatting to me and being a guest on the podcast. I've had a wonderful time.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
If you liked the episode, please consider following or subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also join me on Instagram at Collecting Heroes, where you can see photos of the collections of the people that I'm talking to, as well as some of my own.
I just mental blanked. We've been talking so long. I do this. I'm used to doing this over and over and over again. This is like muscle memory usually for these intros. Luckily, with a
You're
podcast,
good.
you can always go back and edit this and redo. You can actually have a do-over. So,
Yeah, I do TikTok. I know how it is.
all right, let's try this. Let's try this again. Okay. Hello. Yes. Wow.